Metroid Prime. It's one of those games that I hear everyone talk about and everyone seems to enjoy, but I've never played it. So a while back when I dusted off my Wii U and just checked out the eShop, I found it and thought, hey, maybe I should try that. So I bought Metroid Prime Trilogy and decided, hey, let's review it. Before this, I hadn't played a single Metroid Prime game. And because of that, I didn't want to review all three of them at the same time. I wanted to give each one its own video. So today, we'll be discussing and reviewing the original Metroid Prime. Let's go. First things first, since I'm playing the Metroid Prime Trilogy Collection and not the original Metroid Prime, that means I'm using the updated Wii controls instead of the original GameCube controls. Which is fine, because many people say this is way, way better, which I can't really agree with because I never played the original, so I have no idea. But for starters, the controls are weird. Instead of having two sticks, one to move and one to look, you have one stick to move, and you have to point at the screen with the Wii remote to look. At first, this was very annoying. It's not like any other game I've ever played, and it's really weird. But once you get used to it, it is really fun. Also, a couple of random nitpicks. I didn't like the map. The map is like this weird orange wireframe, and you can like look through the rooms, which means rooms will overlap sometimes, and you can't really tell if you're looking at one room or another room, if you're looking down or up, left or right. It hurt my head sometimes. Oh, there's also the way you switch between visors and weapons. You see, unlike other Metroids, this game has distinct weapons. The ice beam, the wave beam, the plasma beam, and the normal pea shooter thing. I don't know the name of that. They're all distinct weapons that you can use at different times, unlike the normal games where they just add on to each other. And this game also adds visors, where you have different visors to see different things. You have a thermal visor, you have an x-ray visor, you have a scan visor, and your normal visor. But the point I was trying to make was that it's annoying to switch between them. You have 12 plus or minus depending on if you want to change the gun or the visor, and then point to what you want to change to. I constantly press the wrong one all the time. I would change my gun when I wanted to change my visor, and I changed my visor when I wanted to change my gun. It was really irritating. But the guns and visors themselves are decent. You have the normal gun, which is normal, I guess. You have the ice beam, which freezes people, which is cool. You have the wave beam, which homes in on the enemy you're targeting, which is awesome, and the main weapon I used. And you have the plasma beam, which is just like faster, I guess. It might do more power. I honestly have no idea. Also, certain doors can only be opened with certain guns, but not the main gun. The main gun doesn't have anything special. So the idea of switching between guns is pretty cool, but like I said, I mainly just use the wave beam. The visors, however, are not very good. You have the normal visor, which is just normal. You have the scan visor, which isn't supposed to be like a totally unique visor. It just lets you scan things in the environment, which I didn't really enjoy doing, but you know, it's fine. You have the thermal visor, which allows you to see in the dark and sometimes certain invisible things. And you have the x-ray visor, which lets you see completely different invisible things. Also, I don't really like the x-ray visor because it lets you see invisible things, and I never know if there's something invisible, so I never know when to use it. Also, the thermal visor only really lets you see things invisible at one point in the game, which we'll get to later. Oh, also, I usually just damage boosted past enemies because I didn't want to stop and fight them, and they didn't do that much damage since you have a lot of health, so I just ran past most of the enemies, which got me in lots of trouble later in the game, but we'll get to that. Oh, but there's also the iconic morph ball. The morph ball this time actually obeys physics and is awesome. It zooms out to third person and you just get to roll around super quick. It's really fun. I really like it. And it gets upgraded with the boost ball, which is even faster and is also awesome. Like seriously, multiple times while playing the game, I found myself turning into a morph ball just to get it around faster. It was awesome. A few other things I like is I like the grappling hook because it's just really fun to use. And like the double jump boots, I think they're just called high jump boots. I don't know, but they allow you to double jump. And that allows you to backtrack easier, which is really cool. Also, random side note, I like that you're actually seeing out of Samus's eyes. Like, the information on your screen isn't just on your TV, but it's inside of Samus's mask. Not to mention, you also see a reflection in Samus's face, and you get static on your screen. It just puts you in the shoes of Samus. You aren't someone playing as Samus, you are Samus. But enough about random stuff. Let's get to the gameplay itself. The game is a Metroidvania, meaning you have to backtrack and explore a lot. For starters, since it's 3D, it's a lot harder to see certain hidden stuff. Like after you get the boost ball, you have to use it here to get up to this area, which is an area I didn't even see before. Exploring in 3D is a lot harder than exploring in 2D, but it's also a lot more fun. Also, if you don't know where to go, the game gives you hints. I'm mixed on these hints. For starters, they helped me a lot, which sounds like a good thing, but if hints are on by default, that means that Retro, the people that made Metroid Prime, thought that you needed these hints to get around. And if they thought you needed hints to know where to go, maybe that means that their map is just too hard to get around and you get lost very easily. I don't know, I feel like the map could have been designed a little better, but I don't know. The hints are fine, I use them a lot, and you can turn them off, which is nice. But I actually didn't know where to go a lot of the time, which is why I needed the hints. I mean, sometimes I did, like after getting the morph ball, I knew exactly where to go because the map was really small at the time. And after getting the ice beam, I knew exactly where to go because I had just passed where I needed to go. And with the spider ball, I kind of knew where to go. I mean, there are loads of places you could use a spider ball, so I knew that those places existed, but I didn't know which way was the correct way to go. But at least while I was exploring and looking for those areas, I would get a hint telling me exactly where to go, which was kind of nice, but again, I don't really know if that's a good thing overall. So exploring these areas can be hard and really fun, but what are the areas themselves like? Well, let's start from the very beginning of the game. When you start the game, you start in a prologue area. You have to explore this spaceship before you actually start the game, which is fine. You know, having a tutorial before you start the game, it works. However, this one did annoy me a bit. Like at one point you have a fork on the road. One leads to a save point, one leads to a boss. You're supposed to save before the boss fight, but I did not know that. I mean, obviously I knew that you have to save before a boss fight, but I didn't know there was a save room over there. Because obviously you're supposed to go down one path before you go down another one, but I went down the wrong path first. And because of that, I did the boss fight without saving. That means if I died, I had to do it again, which is exactly what happened. You see, a little while after the boss fight, you have an escape sequence, where there's a timer on screen and you have to figure your way out of this building. I was an idiot for some reason and didn't realize there was a timer, so I just took my time and died. And then I had to start the whole thing over and do the boss again because I didn't realize there was a save point. Also, not to mention, the room you're in when the timer starts has a staircase out, and I didn't see the staircase because I'm an idiot. Look, it was like 1 in the morning, don't judge me. Anyway, once you get through this prologue, you actually start the main game. The first area you're in gives you multiple doors you can see, but you can only go through one of them. After going for a bit, you immediately enter an elevator and head on to the second area in the game. I did not like this. Like, the game just started and I'm already entering the second area. Why? So when I first played, I thought the game was opening up way too fast and I got overwhelmed and decided to quit for the night. Because like I said, it was 1 a.m. But obviously the game wasn't actually opening up that much. This was a straight line to this area, and this is the only area I could go to. But at the time, it still worried me. So because I had a terrible experience with the prologue where I just missed the checkpoint, and I had a terrible experience here where I got really overwhelmed, even though I shouldn't have, I took a break because I didn't really know what to expect from the game and didn't know if I would like it, so I just didn't play it. Not to mention I had other new games to play. Anyway, eventually I did go back and kept exploring. And eventually I found the third area in the game, Magmore Caverns. Also, side note, the first area is called Talon Overworld, and the second is called Chozo Ruins. I didn't really remember that while playing the game, but I started to remember near the end. Anyway, entering Magmore Caverns annoyed me a lot. You see, there's a boss you have to fight before entering Magmore. You fight the boss, get the Variety Suit, and now you can withstand the heat in Magmore Caverns. However, I was an idiot and died in Magmore Caverns, and had to refight the boss again. And after I did, I went back to Magmore and died a second time. I had to fight the boss 3 times because I'm an idiot. Not to mention there's a save point right inside of Magmore that I just missed the other 2 times. I'm an idiot. I mean, it wasn't even 1 a.m., so I don't even have an excuse this time. I'm just... why? Anyway, Magmore itself is a pretty straight line. There are a few forks, but they don't really go on for long. So because it's a straight line, instead of adding lots more rooms, they could just make these rooms more complex. In fact, backtracking across Magmore Caverns is really fun because you unlock new ways to get around. Like certain areas you used to platform around, now you just use a grappling hook to get over the lava. Or just use your double jump to jump over the walls in your way. It's really cool. In certain areas they didn't give you shortcuts for, I just damage boosted through the lava because I didn't want to take the slow route because I'm impatient. Anyway, after Magmore Caverns, you enter Finjana Drifts, the 4th area in the game. And you get teased of this, which is pretty cool and we'll get back to later. Anyway, you explored that and then backtracked to old areas and keep exploring, and I was starting to get bored. After I got the gravity suit, I wanted to quit. I didn't want to keep playing, but I just pushed through and kept playing anyway. The gravity suit allows you to explore better in water, which allows you to go to the sunken ship, which is awesome. This sunken ship is literally the place you were exploring in the prologue, but now underwater. This is genius, and it's awesome. But a little while later, you enter Phazon Mines, which is the 5th area in the game, and the hardest. You have to explore a very long time before getting a checkpoint, and the enemies in this level are very, very difficult. They do a lot of damage, are hard to hit, and you have to hit them with a specific weapon to do any damage. They're hard. Oh, and like I said earlier, a lot of the times I would just damage boost past enemies. This is where it gave me a hard time. Since it's so long before you get a checkpoint, and since I damage boosted, I took a lot of damage. Oh, and then you find the cloak drone. The cloak drone is invisible, and I did not know you could hit it. I thought it was just something in the environment I had to turn off, but no, it's an actual boss that you have to kill. You can't lock onto it, meaning I didn't know how to hit it, and it was very irritating to fight. Especially since, like I said, I was low on health because I just boosted past enemies and took a lot of damage. This thing killed me, and he is pretty far into phase on mines, and since I didn't have a checkpoint yet, I had to do all of it again. Why? And it makes it even worse that right after the cloak drone, there's a save point, literally in the room next to it. This was very irritating, but it's also my fault because I was bad at the game and damage boosted. But still, it was very annoying. But anyway, you keep exploring, fighting new stuff, and eventually you find the Omega Pirate. I didn't understand this boss either. You see, you're supposed to shoot him and take him down, and then he summons new enemies that you fight, and then he regenerates, and you're supposed to attack him while he's regenerating. But while he's regenerating, he's invisible, so you have to switch visors to see him. And since I didn't even think to do that, I didn't know I could see him or even hit him. Which means I just defeat him, he'd regenerate, I defeat him again, he'd regenerate, I defeat him again, he'd regenerate, and so on and so forth for a while before I actually just Googled how to defeat him. I felt a little dumb. But still, how was I supposed to know he turns invisible? Anyway, at this point, you're nearing the end of the game. After collecting all the artifacts, which we'll get back to later, you fight Ridley. He was the thing that you saw teased earlier. Anyway, the Ridley fight is really fun. I really enjoyed it. It was really hard, and fun fact, I survived at 5 HP. No joke. I was surprised and very shocked and very happy that I didn't have to do all of that over again. Anyway, after you defeat Ridley, you jump in a hole and move on to a final 6th area. It's short, and I don't even know if it has a name. It's really just used as a walkway to the final boss. The final boss being Metroid Prime. I thought this boss was really cool. The first phase of the fight requires you to switch weapons constantly to actually deal damage to it, along with dodging the shots it shoots back at you, and occasionally when it tries ramming at you. After you defeat it, it falls in a hole, and when you jump down, it's like transformed into like a ghost thing. I don't even know how to explain this. This time, your normal guns do nothing to it, and sometimes it even turns invisible. So you have to switch between the 3 visors to actually see this thing. And sometimes it'll leave this weird goo on the ground. What? That's disgusting. But when you stand in it, it gives you the hyper beam. This is the only way to actually deal damage to the boss. The second part of the boss isn't actually that hard, which I'm happy for because I took a lot of damage in the first phase. I didn't want to die in the second phase. So the first phase is harder and it requires you to switch between your weapons, and the second phase is easier but requires you to switch between your visors. Overall, a really good boss. And then the game ends. Now obviously I still have a few more things to talk about, like those artifacts I mentioned earlier. You see, the game has 2 main types of collectibles. There's the power-ups, which you need so that you can actually keep progressing, and these artifacts, which allows you to actually get to the final boss. These artifacts are just hidden throughout the world that you have to solve puzzles to find. I've heard mixed opinions, a lot of people saying they're annoying, a lot of people saying they're good, so what do I think? I really liked them. They were probably my favorite part in the whole game. You see, each one has its own hint. The hint will give you a clue at which area it's in. The highlighted word corresponds to one of the words that's in the name of the room it's in, and sometimes it even gives you a little hint on actually how to get it from the room. So I'd find one, find which area it's in, go to that area, look again and see what room it's in, find the room, and then go to that room and try to solve the puzzle and find it. It was really fun, even though it had a lot of backtracking. I really enjoyed it. Also, when you have no idea where to get the next power-up, you can just waste time looking for the artifact while you're waiting to get a hint. Anyway, what do I think about this game? This game has weird controls, but they are pretty fun. It has a weird map with hints that do make it better, and it's got pretty good power-ups that can occasionally help with backtracking. Overall, I like this game. I loved exploring, I loved finding the artifacts, and, well, I didn't even mind the backtracking. This game was a lot of fun and unique, to say the least. If you're a fan of Metroid, I would 100% recommend this game, especially since you can get all 3 Prime games on the Wii U for just 20 bucks, which is like super cheap, especially for 3 first-party Nintendo games. If you have a Wii U, I would 100% buying it and checking it out. It was really fun. Are there problems? Yes. The map was a little too hard to watch, and exploration was a little too annoying because I needed the hints a lot, but it was a lot of fun. Now, I do plan on playing Metroid Prime 2 and 3, but it might be a while because I kind of want to take a break from Metroid. I've played a lot of Metroid lately. Also, I'm going on vacation, but this video is going up when I get back from vacation, so I don't think that matters. But anyway, I don't want to actually start rambling because I ramble all the time and I need to get this done because, like I said, I'm going on vacation. So anyway, what are your thoughts on Metroid Prime? I thought the game had issues, but was overall really fun. I will 100% be checking out the second and third game. But as for now, that's the end of this video. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll come back for when I play Metroid Prime 2. Man, this game was like really good, but it was also like really annoying. I got really annoyed because I played it over like a gap of a month because like I took a break and there was like I went on like a trip with like a family member, and it took me a while. I took like a month, but it was only like 10 hours of gameplay that I played, so it's really weird, but it happened like over the place of a month, which I think maybe annoyed at the game because it was taking forever, but it was still really fun. Even though I was annoyed at it a lot of the time, I still had a lot of fun, so I do suggest playing it. Why did I take so